In this video I will use philosophy to predict the outcome of the US presidential election this November 2024. Now, predicting anything in the future is risky business because you could be wrong. It's not a 100% accurate prediction, not in the moment of now. When you philosophize, if you philosophize about is it possible to do a prediction, you in the element of now, when you make the prediction, you could be wrong. It's a 50-50 chance, but I, like others, think it's sometimes possible to predict a pattern, a pattern in history, in the movement of history, and that is what this video is about, where I will use philosophical arguments, philosophy's philosophical viewpoints to predict the US election. So stay tuned to get to know who I predict will be the next president of the United States. Is it Kamala Harris or is it Donald Trump? Stay tuned and watch the rest of this video. But first, a little thing about political philosophy in general. And my idea with this video is trying to be unbiased. But is that even possible? Nah, probably not that easy to be unbiased. As Hannah Arendt, one of my favorite philosophers, Hannah Arendt has written that it's not entirely possible to be 100% unbiased when talking about politics, because you have your own specific viewpoints and standpoints when it comes to philosophy. So even when I do this video trying to predict the US election, I might come across as biased at certain points, so I would like to excuse myself from that. This is a very personal video. I also have very personal feelings, hunches, gut feeling who I think will be the next president. But these are not very rational sentiments, so the arguments I hopefully will come across in this video will be arguments, philosophical arguments, hopefully with basis of rational thought. All right, the next president of the United States of America is, can I get a drum roll please? The next president of the United States will be Kamala Harris. Now, the rest of the video I will come forth with my arguments, philosophical arguments, why I believe and why I have predicted Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. First of all, when doing predictions of any kind, especially prediction about a US election, try to listen to somebody who are used to these kind of predictions. And I have a famous American historian, Alan Lichtman. Alan Lichtman, he's in his 70s now. He has predicted the US election since 1984, and he's been right almost every time, except once he's been wrong. But every time he has predicted who would become president. Even in 2016 he predicted that Donald Trump would be president. Now he predicts that Kamala Harris would be president. So it's important to listen to him, because he has predicted every US election except one, and that was George Bush in 2000. He then predicted that Al Gore was going to win, but according to Alan Lichtman, this is not my opinion, but according to Alan Lichtman, Al Gore did win that election, because that election was decided in the courts of Florida to the favor of George Bush. So according to Alan Lichtman, he was kind of right in his prediction that Al Gore won that election, because his views are that the election was stolen from the Democrats, but that's his viewpoints. I'm not going to get into that. Alan Lichtman has 13 keys that will get you into the White House. I'm not going to get into all of these 13 keys from Alan Lichtman here. You can watch plenty of videos online on YouTube for that. I'm just going to mention them here as an argument for why I predict Kamala Harris, because, well, I listen to those who are good at predicting US election. That's Alan Lichtman. He says Kamala Harris. My next philosophical argument why I believe Kamala Harris is going to win the US election is because of process philosophy. Those of you who watch my channel here a lot know that I'm pretty much into process philosophy, and I talk very much about process philosophy. Those of you who are new to this channel and this video, process philosophy comes from Heraclitus in ancient Greece. He has a famous fragment that says you cannot step twice into the same river. It's not the same water that flows in the river, and you are not the same as the one who first stepped into the river. So everything changes, right? Everything in the universe or in a person, in a society is ever changing, like politics. So that's also my idea here when I look at the movement and patterns of history, that everything changes over the course of times, and who's at the bottom of society can shift to be on top of a society, and as empires come and go, and those who are at the bottom of the empire can find themselves kind of overturning the empire at some point. It's been there. Remember King Alaric in 411 AD, King Alaric of the Visigoth, or what the Romans would call them, the barbarians. The barbarians were beneath the Roman Empire. They conquered the barbarians and enslaved them, and they had all of Europe and more in their empire. But Rome changed, and it was a long process of its fall, but there was something definitely that happened with King Alaric. He sacked Rome in 411. He conquered the city of Rome itself and sacked it, and stood on the Capitol Hill claiming victory over Rome. He was a barbarian king. Barbarian didn't used to have kings, but now they have kings, and they could be very powerful. So who's on bottom can be on the top. My idea here is with the process philosophy and the ever-changing is that Kamala Harris is a woman, and women has always been historically kind of beneath men in this Western society and all kinds of society. Women are generally beneath men, but a big process, especially in Europe. Europe has a lot of female leaders, and they keep also getting more female leaders, and that will also happen in the United States, the most powerful Western country in the whole world, one of the most powerful states in the world. It will have a female leader. You might think, well, Hillary Clinton, she ran for president, she lost to Donald Trump. Yeah, but that's the thing. If change move history, Hillary wasn't really change. She was a woman. That would be a big change to have a female president. But Hillary Clinton standed for establishment. She was a known politician. Everybody knew Hillary Clinton. While on the other hand, Donald Trump, back then, he has the element of change, the element of disruption. He was the new guy in politics. He didn't talk like a politician. He was quite radical and different. So he had that element of change. So he became president, which makes sense. I should have predicted it back then that Donald Trump would have been a president, because he was change. But now he's not change anymore. He actually wants to go back. He keeps saying that. He wants to make America great again. He wants to go back. And there's more focus about this going back, going back, going back, while Kamala Harris looks forward. She even says it, we're moving forward. And I'm not Biden, she says. She's different from Biden. So she has the element of change, and that's what's going to move history. I'd like to show you something here. Process metaphysics, an introduction to process philosophy. One of my favorite process philosophers, Nicholas Rescher. He died this year in January, but he has in this book 16 ways to view history and its movement. 3 ways to looking at the movement of history. That's what I'm interested in when I predict an U.S. election. I'm not going to come into all of them. You can read the book, but there's 2 I'm very interested here, and one of them is the cyclic movement. That there is an ongoing change. It does not have a fixed direction, but it moves in repetitive patterns of ebbs and flows. There are some repetitive patterns going on in history. It repeats itself. Some patterns repeats itself. There's also the stochastic movement, that it's just a movement of history's random fluctuations without any particular designated pattern. Simply now this, simply now that. It's randomness. Both of them I actually believe are the biggest possibility. So there are other movements here, like that movement in history is always progressive. It goes towards a better and better history. I'm not entirely sure about this one. One could hope, but there's also the retrogressive, where history is moving downwards and becoming worse and worse and worse. I don't want to expire to that either. I think randomness or cyclic repetitive pattern that's ever changing, but something goes back. It's also a very, very famous Buddhist saying that says everything changes and everything returns. So in that Buddhist statement you also have the repetitively cyclic movement, that something repeats itself. And what's repeating itself here, I believe, in the coming election is that the loser now would later to win. You remember Bob Dylan? The loser now will later to win, 'cause the times they are a-changing. That is, women has always been down here, now they will be on top. Just like Obama in 2008, we had the first black president in the United States. Now, I believe the time, it will happen sooner or later, eventually. That's a 100% accurate prediction, I think. One day we will have a female president in the United States. Is it now? Of course I could be wrong. I believe it's now with Kamala Harris. It also makes sense. If you take one philosopher who in the past had looked at these patterns of repetitively patterns, it is the famous historical philosopher. You can also call him a process philosopher, actually. He is mentioned by the most famous process philosopher of all, Alfred North Whitehead. He has mentioned Hegel as a process philosopher. Theses, antitheses, and synthesis. It goes like this. First you have one movement, a new movement in history that moves the history here. Then Hegel says, now comes its anti-movement, its antithesis, which will pull it towards back again, or pull it in other places. And then at some point there will be a synthesis of these two movements, and then that will be the new thesis, and then there will come another anti-thesis and move it different. Let me come with an example. Obama was a thesis, a new movement in history. We had the first black president ever in the United States. Also, he was very left-wing. He was one of the most left-wing party members of the Democratic Party. and try to move a lot of things more left in politics in America. But then, of course, Donald Trump, he would be the anti-thesis for Obama, pulling it this way. And now the America is trying to synthesize these opposite viewpoints. And the ultimate anti-thesis, the anti-movement to Donald Trump is Kamala Harris. So Hegel's right about this, and usually when this is the best model pattern of history I have ever came across with. That's Hegel's view on the movement of history. There will come an antithesis to Donald Trump, and he's very much like a macho man. His followers they like Donald Trump as a man. He's a powerful, rich man who has young women models for wives and girlfriends, and he's been successful and all that kind of thing. So he's the ultimate male persona, and he's also, some would say, he's a sexist, misogynist, or something like that. That he wants a woman to know their place in society beneath him, beneath men. So Kamala is the ultimate, a black woman who runs against him. This is a fact that there are more women voters in America. There are more women in America. A small percentage of more women, and also a smaller percentage of women in America that's registered to vote. So in that sense, okay, there's a lot more women, but just because they're women doesn't mean they will vote for a woman. They might as well vote for Donald Trump. Yeah, that's right. But this time it could be more different, because it seems like this is a more genderized, polarized political climate that's going on now than it was back in 2016 when Donald Trump ran against Hillary Clinton. We got more stuff going on. That's very much focus on abortion and women's body and women's right. There's also much more focus on man's place in a society that's changing toward women. Women are usually more better educated. They get bigger grades in schools and so forth. So there are a movement in history going towards it's gonna be a more shift that men were on top to women being more on top. I'm not the only one saying this about history. So of course that movement will end up with a female president in the USA. And that is now. That's what I believe that movement will strike now with Kamala Harris. As I said, I'm not the only ones who believe that there's more genderized milieu going on in the United States right now. There's also a movement in America called White Women for Harris. There wasn't anything like that back then, like black women for Hillary Clinton or something. Hillary Clinton, she was very much establishment. She was, although still popular. Remember, and this is also a fact, regardless of what Donald Trump has said, the popular vote went to Hillary Clinton in 2016, but Donald Trump won that election because of America's electoral system. He got the most electoral votes. So he won that election, but Hillary won the popular vote with, I don't know, 5 million or something. But that's still a lot. While Biden, it's also one of my arguments why Kamala Harris is going to win, that Donald Trump, the only election that he won, he didn't win the popular vote. He won by electoral votes in the electoral college. The election that he lost to Joe Biden also got the popular vote, and the most electoral votes. So the two elections that Trump has been in, he has lost the popular vote. He will do that now, I pretty much say, because Kamala is a new girl on the block. She is more popular than Donald Trump. Also, Biden became president. He won the popular vote and an electoral vote over Donald Trump. And you think Donald Trump is less hated now? No, he's probably more hated, especially after January 6th, 2021, with the whole storm on the Congress thing. He's more unpopular now in most of the United States, so he will lose the election. He has not become more popular on that account, I think. So an argument is also, yeah, he lost to Biden. But anyways, I'm so pleased that you were here to the end of this video. I hope to see you in the next video. Take care and have a great election out there. Bye.